Hi, this is Mark.
This is Michelle, and this is episode 44 of This is Mark and Michelle.
No, episode 45.
45.
Yeah.
I even looked just now.
44 was a couple weeks back. But anyway, episode 45, and our subject today is
Body consciousness.
Okay. Now, I'm not sure what that means for the rest of you folks. Michelle, what's your definition?
Awareness of being able to feel like my arms or feel my eyes, or I'm definitely in my skin and letting my body be what it is.
Now, in your skin, what do you mean by that?
Allowing myself to actually be in my body.
Okay. I'm wondering if in your skin means you feel like you have a body. In the sense of...
See, I don't know what it's like to feel like you don't have a body, so
well,
I don't...
Which is why we're talking about the subject today.
Which is why we're talking about this today.
Right. And while my definition of the same term is feeling like I have a physical existence. In other words, feeling like I'm attached to the inside of this. Now, that might sound strange for a lot of people, but this is a story I tell periodically. I may have even told it in one of the previous previous Facebook Lives, but I remember this specifically in kindergarten and first grade. So that would have made me 6 and 7 years old. Now, there were times when I felt like that I was in a dark cave, so to speak, and I was on the inside of like a shell. There you go. That's probably a good way to put it. Like I was encased in a shell, but I didn't completely fill the inside of that shell. And I remember at least twice, maybe 3 times, feeling like it was dark in there, other than 2 little beams of light kind of illuminating, just kind of coming in. They didn't show me anything that they didn't shine on anything that was on the inside of that shell, but I just noticed them coming in. And I remember twice going up to those little beams of light and looking out as if they were windows and seeing the rest of the world. Now, I don't know if many other people who have autism or had autism have had the same experience, but I think by the 2nd grade, by the time I was 8 years old, that had gone away. But all I can figure out is, for me personally, I didn't feel like I was in my body until I had lived almost 8 or 9 years.
So that's really interesting to me, because I've always been in my body. How did that affect your outer world?
Well, the outer world didn't seem real to me. Because, and even as an adult in my 30s and 40s, and I've done this to you too, I would come up to people and I would poke them and I would ask them, are you real? You know, that, and I know I've talked about that in a previous podcast, but what I'm finding is what we normally think of as real is something that can either hurt us or help us. Now, I don't know if, in other words, if it hurts us, we think it's real. So, in other words, like a burner, like a person who's insulting us. But somebody who says, hey, come on, I want to take you out of this, that's real too. But why is it real? I think it's real because it makes us feel on the inside. And so if we feel hurt, feelings are real to us.
They weren't to you at the time.
Well, at the time they weren't, because while I had feelings, apparently there's a myth going around that autistic people don't have feelings. Oh, they've got feelings. Definitely have those. It's just, I think in a lot of cases, they're not able to identify them and their intensity of sensing them is turned way down.
So, other than perhaps getting burned on your arm
Mm-hmm.
or falling out of a swing
Mm-hmm.
and hitting your
Physical hurts.
physical pain,
Right.
I guess that meant that was real to you in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Those things.
But even physical pain wasn't very intense.
Right.
Other
So
than that toothache.
what was real to you before you hit that 8-year-old mark?
Not much, to be honest. I mean,
Then what did you
thoughts were about the only thing, thoughts were the only things that I could really connect with. So reading and having more thoughts, see, that was real to me. And so now here I am 40 something years later, and I'm looking at thoughts and realizing that they're not real either. Feelings themselves, while they feel real, usually aren't real either. So what is real?
Well, now you're asking the question of the ages.
Well, the question of the age probably can be answered by me, at least for my age anyway. But what was real? I thought thoughts were real. That was it. People didn't seem real. The outer world didn't seem real. Feelings, as low intensity as they were, Roxy.
Hey, Roxy.
And but feelings, as low intensity as they were hardly real either. I mean, unless they were really strong ones, like really strong fear, really strong embarrassment. See, I knew embarrassment, and really strong anger. I knew anger too. So, and frustration. That was about the 4 of them. But like intense happiness, no. Love, no. Because people might have loved me. I couldn't sense it, couldn't see it, couldn't read it, but it didn't make a change in me, except for the cookbook.
Right. But that was in your 20s.
Exactly. But
So,
see, think about you're in your 20s before you realize somebody might actually like you.
Right.
And even you liking me wasn't real. As many times as I asked you, do you like me?
Yeah. I know. I
So
remember.
you remember. So so real wasn't much.
What feels real now?
Just about everything. I mean, because I can, for instance, I went out to coffee with a friend of mine yesterday, and that was real.
Why?
Why was that real? Because we were talking, and I could tell I was affecting her.
Ah, very interesting.
And at the same time, her experiences, she's half my age, and she is going through a lot of the things that I went through. Now, not autism, but a lot of the internal, deconstructing internal beliefs and that kind of stuff. She's going through a lot of that. Down in front, man. Down in front. Yeah, come here. Oh, yeah, but I can't see them. And but she's going through
hordes of people right here.
Yeah, right. Through the rabble, like what was it? Blackadder did that. But here, come on, man.
Oh, no kitty
butt.
butt.
No butt. Nobody wants to see your butt. So talking to her and noticing that I was affecting her, all of a sudden I realized, oh, wait a minute. That must mean I exist. Now, I didn't go through this process.
Right.
But
I feel that because if I existed in a vacuum, I wouldn't know if I existed. I only know I exist by how people react to me, how I affect them.
Mm-hmm. Well, good point. And I never had other reasons to wonder about whether I existed.
Just think, if there weren't mirrors or water with reflections, how would we know that we were really here?
Mm-hmm.
Except bouncing off of other people.
Well, how would you have a sense of self? A sense of self. In other words,
and that's what you didn't have until you started recovering.
Right. A sense of self. I'll define that for folks. A sense of self is knowing how you would act or react in a certain situation or in any situation. It's knowing what you like and what you don't like, who you like and who you don't like, and why. In other words, it's knowing that you are an individual that affects other people, and other people affect you.
And you have preferences.
And you have
Your
preferences.
preferences are yours alone.
Exactly. And that makes you a unique.
A Neek. Hi, Neek.
Hi, Knights of Neek. But knowing how you affect others and how they affect you makes you realize that you're an individual. Physically. We're not talking spiritually or anything else. That's a whole separate subject. But when you can see how other people are affected by you, all of a sudden you realize, oh, wait a minute, there's something here. Because when I was autistic, I did not see how I affected people usually, unless their reaction was extreme. If they were shouting at me, yelling at me,
and you couldn't have known what you had done.
And I didn't know because, well, and usually what it was trampling on emotional boundaries.
But you didn't know those were
Didn't know that. And not only did I not know that they were there, I didn't know that would be a trigger for people. So, body consciousness is a little more of the physical knowing of your sense of self. Because, for instance, I had lots of trouble knowing where I was in space.
Right. You
Physical
were
space.
clumsy and tripped a lot.
Right, exactly. And I don't do that so much anymore. I don't have a good sense of balance, but that
seems
probably
to have
the
improved.
worst. Yeah, well, it may have. Well, I don't trip over stuff much. I did at work the other day, but that was trying to get out of somebody's way. But knowing where you are in space, knowing how close you are to people, sexy, and but at the same time, but see, think about that.
Just that alone, look how it affected you.
Right.
You're
Look how it
cute
affected
little.
you. Right? But see, when I was autistic, I didn't know I didn't know that should affect her in a good way.
Right.
But then I didn't know that stepping into somebody else's personal space that I'm not going to kiss doesn't affect them in a good way.
Right.
But interestingly enough, now I can physically feel when people are in my personal space, even if I don't see them.
That's pretty dramatic change.
Well, it is because as an autistic,
oblivious.
Oh yeah, and because I was in their personal space, and sometimes I didn't know when people were in mine, but now I know it, and I turn around because I'll feel something from them.
You feel the waves of somebody else's energy. It's grossing you out.
Yeah, it grosses me. Grody to the max, right?
Yeah.
And to go back to the 80s. But yeah, but now I see that. Body consciousness to me is all about experiencing what it's like to be in a physical body and knowing that you're there and knowing how it relates to other physical bodies around you. I mean, because physical presence determines interactions. Because if you're too close, that upsets some people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If you're too close, if you're in somebody's personal space, somebody might take that as a sign to hug you or something.
Or if you're too far away, someone might think you don't like them.
Exactly. There's that
crazy.
too.
You have to feel that boundary.
Right. You have to feel that boundary because nobody's going to say I don't like you.
Yeah.
Well, see, as an autistic person, I didn't know if somebody was standing a long way from me. They were either scared of me or didn't like me or something else. Now it's like, now I start wondering what's going on. As an autistic person, I didn't notice that.
Yeah.
And so body consciousness really is feeling like you're present in your physical body, as if that's the place you live most of the time.
In your recovery, do you remember when you started feeling like you were in your body?
That's probably one of the things I don't remember.
I wonder if you remember that Target episode where the colors started becoming more bright. Go back to that period of time and see if you can think of anything.
Well, you know what it is, and this might be, I was about to say what the meaning of is, but what I really think it is as like first colors becoming brighter, feeling other people's emotions, watching their reactions, and seeing how I react and that kind of stuff. That grounds you into your physical body, because when you can see how other people react to you and then how you react to their reaction, all of a sudden you go, oh, wait a minute, there's something here, or there's something here. Or let's see, there was something else I was going to, oh, well, and then when colors become bright, well, physical pain for one. I mean, because when I was autistic, I didn't often physical pain will immediately make you present in your moment.
Yeah, there are better ways to be present in your moment than pain.
They just take a shitload more work. but physical pain requires no work, and it immediately makes you present. I mean, it does. The strongest pain I ever felt when I was autistic was when I had a toothache back in 2009. Every time I pounded on the table,
it scares Fry.
Yeah. Hey, Lisa Amber, how are you?
Hi, Lisa.
Glad you were able to join. What is it? I guess it's only about 7:00 your time. But my physical existence really came about in being able to feel things from other people and from me. And physical pain really, like the toothache I had back in 2009, they had to pull the tooth. It had broken in half, but it didn't quite abscess, I don't think. But
you were having a lot of pain. I remember you sitting there.
It was a huge amount of pain, and that was the worst pain I'd ever felt. Now I wouldn't want to have that pain.
He had said that several times.
I will avoid anything that would cause that amount of pain.
Yeah.
You know, pain is a motivator. It really is. In 2014, I remember sitting at a Christmas dinner with some folks and saying that pain is a motivator. You know, best motivator I've ever felt.
That's got me where I am.
Right? And who says suffering isn't good for you? But anyway, so as far as body consciousness goes, for me, it was waking up to the fact that I existed in a body. Waking up to the environment that I existed in, the physical me. Because I didn't have much of a connection with that because I couldn't feel my body that much, nor could I feel other people. You know, and you can get emotional pain from other people too, and that grounds you as well. It makes you in the present moment, I should say.
Yeah, it's not grounding.
No, present moment is a better term because it puts you in the sorry, bro.
You're in a kitty.
It puts you in the present moment, and so and maybe that's what body consciousness is. It brings you to the present.
Yes.
It brings you to the physical present. And so that probably in 2014 when there was a story I was going to bring up from 2014 that really brought the body consciousness thing home, but I can't remember what it was now.
Oh, that's disappointing.
Yeah, well, that's all right. We'll come back to it. But anyway, but that's what I think body consciousness is, but I didn't have that much as an autistic person, which means you're trampling, as an autistic person, you can be trampling all over physical boundaries and emotional boundaries, and you can even be trampling over physical boundaries and emotional boundaries for yourself and not know it. And what I mean by that is overeating.
Right.
Because I couldn't tell when I was full.
Right.
So I just eat. And that didn't help me because I gained a lot of weight. I mean, I was 211 pounds at one point. And now I'm probably 190 something, but that's the thing. I mean, and you know, I remember a friend of ours, woman that Michelle worked with the past 4 years, asking this question. Well, she was surprised. What it was is she didn't understand. She has, I think is he a nephew?
Yes.
He's a nephew, and he's 16 or 17, and she was concerned about his hygiene because he didn't have a good sense of personal hygiene.
Did you say he's autistic?
Well, he is autistic.
Yeah.
Yes, and moderately
Moderate,
so. It sounds like.
Aspie.
Right, and I would say not that high functioning.
Maybe not.
but anyway, so he seems to be moderate, and she said, I just don't understand why he doesn't take care of himself. And I told her, I said, because he can't feel when he isn't taking care of himself.
Right.
And she was, yeah, fine, dumbfounded by that, because she's very intimate.
Yeah.
Right. And so she was surprised, and I said, because he can't tell when he needs to go to the bathroom. She goes, sometimes, he's 16. Sometimes he poops in his pants. Sometimes he pees in his pants. Because he can't feel the signals that his brain is getting, the rest of his body is getting. See, and that too, that would be body consciousness as well. Being able to feel the signals that your body is giving you. Pain would be one of them. Mm-hmm. But having to go to the bathroom, your urgency. I couldn't feel that hardly. In fact, I told somebody that recently at the store.
When we would go on trips, you would go, I would have to stop like every hour and a half or something, and you wouldn't go all day. And then finally you'd have to go. It would be like emergency, almost.
Right.
It's like, how are you doing this?
Well, I didn't know that was a concern for you.
Yeah.
But hey, you learn new things. But so that so body consciousness is a big deal for me now, because now the urgency is insane. I'm like, man, no wonder people pop their heads into the bathroom when I'm cleaning, going, I need to go. I still tell them no. But,
you're a jerk.
No, but now I get the urgency, so I'm less of a jerk.
Right.
See,
right.
And that too,
That's
interestingly, interestingly enough, is because my body consciousness and being able to feel me has actually made me more compassionate than I ever was as an autistic person. Because if I can feel the urgency of having to go to the bathroom, I'm like, oh, this must be what they're feeling, or close to it.
Right.
Oh, I get it now.
Yeah. Welcome to humanity.
Humanity 101. But yeah, see, and that's an important point, because if I can feel it, oh, well, they're humans, they feel it too. So I've gotten a lot more
compassionate
towards that.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to pregnant women and that kind of stuff. We've got 5 just in my department alone at the store. But I always let them go, even if the bathroom's closed, because you just gotta go. Yeah. So, but then there's me going, oh, you think these adults had parents that would teach them how to know how to hold it, But then I was like, you know what, screw it. So I let them go anyway. But yeah, body consciousness has taught me more about being human.
But what you've forgotten is we live in the land of probably a lot of autism, and they don't know until it's the moment.
Well, and so until it is the moment. And so, yeah. So in that sense, body consciousness, just to recap real quick, is being able to be physically present in your body. And when I was autistic, I did not feel connected to this physical skin at all. And well, I should say about 75% I didn't feel connected, because obviously I could feel some pain, but it had to be intense pain like that toothache for me to get it. Yeah.
So what is something that's really cool that you had no idea existed as you have joined with your body? We won't go into sex. What is something really cool? No. What is something really cool that you didn't know existed that you're experiencing now?
Well, 2 things. Proximity just now, and how that made you light up and we kissed. And see, that's cool. I think that's cool, because I can immediately see that she likes me.
Yeah.
Right? Even physical presence is enough to make her like me. Another thing that's cool is, because I can now feel emotions, I can think about her and crack a smile. That happened the other day at work.
Really?
Yeah, it happens when I stop and think about it, when I decide not to think about work and I'm being lazy. But then, and this next story is very similar to this one. Like my friend that I went out with to coffee yesterday. since she is going through a lot of the same things that I've gone through in my life, deconstructing religious beliefs for her and other things, when I could feel realizations come to her about life and that kind of stuff, it made me happy for me and for her.
That's a teacher's life.
Well, and
that's what keeps you teaching, even though you don't make any money.
You have to learn how to make money.
Yeah.
But that is the non-physical payoff.
Yeah.
Right. And so just her learning. For instance, we were talking about the difference between meditation and prayer, because I told her the story about Cousin John and you asking him what was the difference between meditation and prayer. And so I was telling my friend, I said, I think the difference between meditation and prayer is this. Prayer is prayer to God. Meditation is prayer to yourself. You're talking to yourself. And prayer is getting to know God. Meditation is getting to know you. And I said, but if you have God in you, then isn't meditation just getting to know you as God? And I said, but if that's the case, that's how God talks to you, is through your intuition. Well, that was a big deal for her. Her eyes lit up and she didn't smile.
Yeah.
She was just sat back kind of blown away because, I've never heard it put that way, she said. I said, but why not? I mean, sure, God talks to you in prayer if that's how he talks to you, or she talks to you, whatever. But my friend was really, because she has been struggling. She got sick 3 years ago. She was always in connection with her intuition. A few years ago, she got sick, and her connection to her intuition was broken, very badly broken, because she just couldn't get in touch with it anymore. So she spent the last 3 years recovering, and she's gotten about 50 to 60% of that connection back. That's her estimate. But to hear it put in terms of intuition is the way God talks to you, that I think that actually connected her with God in a very personal, meaningful, internal way.
Mm-hmm.
Because she realized, oh, that's what that is. And so seeing that change over her face, I'm like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
For her, because now it makes sense to her, because she had this view of being separate from God, but now she realizes she's not. I think that's what the big revelation was for her.
Yeah.
So, and me being able to see that in her is very gratifying, because I felt all nice right here.
Yeah.
And she did too. At least I'm assuming, but on her face, it was very relevant. So body consciousness is really being able to know your relationship with everybody, with yourself and everybody else. And what's up, man? So that's what we think body consciousness is. You have other questions?
No, that was really interesting.
Well, good. Well, we are going to boogie off for today. Thanks for watching, Lisa and Roxy.
Yeah.
And hope you have a good night, Lisa. But we'll put something else up here pretty soon.
Okay.
Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.